Well, it's actually, there's a shorter time for lecture today because it's a shorter morning, but I have all these things I want to say, so I'll just talk really fast. I thought, well, we're having a meeting this afternoon. And I mean, some of it's gonna be just talking together and, because we haven't had a general Sangha meeting since before the pandemic, and some of it'll be more business and administrative stuff. And I thought, it's like Suzuki Roshi would always say what the most important thing is. And I think, I wanna use this talk, it makes me cry, I'm sorry. The most important thing is, the most important thing is practice. And all the rest of it is, we'll figure it out, and we have been figuring it out. And it's wonderful that there are some people in the Sangha who are way more organized than I am, and that they're bringing their skills and their love of that. And but I appreciate that Norman Fisher said once that each teacher sort of enters the Dharma through a different gate. I mean, there's 100 million different, the teachings are so vast and wide, and each person articulates it in their own way. So this is a little attempt, along with Suzuki Roshi's help, to shine one corner of the world. You don't know this little book, it's pretty wonderful. It's just moments with Suzuki Roshi. It's like not some big, heavy Dogen Dharma, which is wonderful, and we'll do that, and we will continue to do that, but it's the moments. So, here are things that over these decades keep arising for me. And maybe, I hope each one of you have little teachings and little phrases, or things that stay with you, or moments that stay with you as just guides all the way through. And maybe you know what they mean, and maybe you don't. And hopefully the more you practice, the more you don't know what they mean. But they sit in your heart and mind. And Mel Weissman's new book, the book about Mel Weissman, is to see one thing all the way through. So these are things that sit that way in me. First one is, you've heard these before. A student asked Xiaozhou, what is Zazen? It is non-Zazen, he replied. How can Zazen be non-Zazen? It's alive, Xiaozhou replied. It's alive. This is an embodied, alive practice, moment to moment. And please, we all have good brains, study if you like to study. I didn't study for about the first 3 decades. Now I think it's great. So, it's like whatever, whatever makes you happy, but it's alive. If there's a point to this, it's to be here fully embodied alive, with and for all beings. I love that koan. And what is alive? I don't know. Forever. What is it? Okay, second one is, a monk asks Yunmen, another Zen teacher in our lineage, the fundamental teaching that Buddha conveyed over the course of his lifetime. And Yunmen said, an appropriate response. So what is the appropriate response each moment? How do we respond, and what is being asked of us moment after moment in this alive dynamic that is giving and receiving, and beyond giving and receiving is how do we respond to the beauty and the suffering of the world? It's an ongoing koan, because the minute you have one answer, the situation will change and then show up again and again. A little bit about like intention and action. A lifetime of practice is about cultivating an ever-deepening capacity to respond with wisdom and compassion to the full spectrum of human experience, to be a true human being. We're not putting something on top of ourselves. We're not trying to be somebody special or some idea about what we think a Zen person is. I hope we're all trying to wake up and be true human beings, along with alive of the planet and all beings, and sentient and insentient, and the earth and the birds, and how do we take care of all beings, all inclusive, nobody, nothing left out. To see the Buddha nature in everything. So it means to be in relationship. We cannot not be in relationship. There is no sorry. I know sometimes we wish, well, maybe I wish, it's like, I'm an introvert. I'm just like, but you know what? There's air and sun and breath and sound and smell and taste and touch, and the person next to you, it's like there's no place to get away to. And the more we enter, the more alive we are and the more responsive we are. So here's another favorite koan that I've been doing. So this was the koan that when I did when I was Shuso a lot of years ago. This is, I'm looking for a past Shuso, although there are several of them in the room. This is one of my most favorite koans. It's in both the Blue Cliff Records, the Book of Serenity, Dogen's commentaries on the koans. Obviously other people liked it too. Dogen wrote on it. Bodhisattva of great compassion, Avalokiteshvara. One who perceives the cries of the world is also called the one who has complete freedom in perceiving. She's free, she's alive. And I love that she has 1,000 hands and eyes. You know the image I'm talking about, right? Well, I should have one, but anyway, to me it's an energetic embodiment, and it's not one-dimensional, two-dimensional, it's just everything is hands and eyes. The image of her, the hand and eye in each hand. I think the hands and eyes are the left and the right, and a front and behind and above. I mean, it's full circle alive. Suzuki Roshi says if you only use 98, if you only use your two hands, you're not using the other 99,000, whatever, you know. Anyway, you do math. Alive means fully present. So Yin Yang Same said, what does a bodhisattva of great compassion do with so many hands and eyes? And Tao Wu said it's like someone reaching back for a pillow in the night. I love that. What is that? It's like you reach for a pillow in the night and it's beyond conscious awareness. It's the heart and it's the extension of the hand and it's feeling and you don't know, but you know it's there. There's something deeply intuitive and responsive in this. Study it. What is it to reach for a pillow in the night? Yin Yang says, I got it. And Tao Wu says, what did you get? And Yin Yang says, all over the body are hands and eyes. All over the body are hands and eyes. If you think you just have these two eyes and you just have these two hands, you're not feeling with your whole body. And then you don't know that that bamboo out there has hands and eyes too. And the wind and the sun and the call of the bird. It's like everything is that interactive and dynamic. Wake up. Some commentaries passed down over time. This is from Dogen. If your whole body were an eye, you still wouldn't be able to see it. If your whole body were an ear, you still wouldn't be able to hear it. If your whole body were a mouth, you still wouldn't be able to speak it. If your whole body were mind, you still wouldn't be able to perceive it. Because the activity of the Bodhisattva of great compassion is her whole body and mind. It is not limited to any notions or ideas of self or other. You can't know it through your cognitive Asking the question in the first place is 1,000 miles from the truth. Answering only serves to compound the error. It's like, there must be an answer here. I got it, I got it. I mean, please try to answer. Please ask. Please ask forever. But don't you see? Avalokiteshvara has never understood compassion. Compassion is not an object. It's alive. And we're learning it together, and we're responding together, and that's what I hope and think Sangha life is together. I love this one. It's from the Book of Serenity. When reaching for a pillow at night, there's an eye in the hand. When eating, there's an eye on the tongue. You eat too much. Eye, tongue. When recognizing people on hearing them speak, there's an eye in the ear. Can you guys hear me on screen? Okay? Yeah, sort of? Let me turn it up a little bit and see. Oh, I can turn it up. How's that better? All directions crystal clear. It is like willow-grown banks and flower-grown walls on a warm day in a gentle spring. Breeze. All directions become crystal.
Chris, we can't hear you. Nope. Nope.
How's it now?
Now? Now they can hear. Yes.
Yep, this just got accidentally hit. The mute button.
So Zazen. Zazen is the embodiment of gravity of the earth. Flying right, completely operating, connected with the sun and moon, stars, space. Yes. Then you don't want to make yourself think. You're looking blank. Big nose.
Okay, that's weird.
I got a couple of notices that the internet was unstable,
Oh.
So I must do it. but not sure.
Now they can hear. You can hear? Now they can hear. You know what? Well, let's make sure we check with Basha before the meeting, because we don't want to have to go through this. Okay, so you guys, I'll just keep going. If you can't hear, just, you know, do what you're doing. Okay. Suzuki Roshi says, just this Zazen posture. This very simple practice. Sit down, stand up. Fall down on the ground, get up by the ground. Fall down on the ground, get up by the sky. It's the basic and original one for us. What was passed to us by the ancestors. So let's find out what it is and follow it all the way through. Suzuki Roshi says what Buddha meant when he said Zazen was the basic or original way for us. What Buddha actually meant was that mountains, trees, flowing water, flowers, and plants, everything as it is the way Buddha is. And when we sit down upright, grounded, present, heart open, breathing and being breathed, we are one with everything, and we are manifesting our true Buddha nature. We are Buddhas. And Buddhas respond bodhisattva activity in the world. It's beyond dualism. It's beyond I'm going to fix you because there's something wrong with you, or you're making me uncomfortable because you're saying things that I really don't agree with. I mean, that's all true. We can acknowledge that part, but then let's keep taking a breath and coming back over and over so that we can enact and imagine and bring into the world that's already here, which is perfect, whole, and complete. Which is love, because there's complete interpenetration of everything. There is no separation. And of course, we perceive separation. We have two eyes. The paradox. Suzuki Roshi says someplace if it's not paradoxical, it's not true. And you're never going to get this to just sit down and cooperate with something simple. If we learn to trust our lives, and we can trust our lives moment after moment. And Suzuki Roshi says, if you continue this simple Zazen practice every day, you will obtain some wonderful power. You will obtain some wonderful power. Before you attain it, it is something wonderful, but after you attain it, it is nothing special. It is just you yourself. You're just going to end up just, when you are you, Zen is Zen. You're just going to be a human being. I mean, finally, all the way through, just here, receptive, responsive, open. How can I help? Because you're not out there. We're completely in this together. Okay, so now what I want to do. These are just little moments. And I'll bet, I'm sure we all have little moments that we've experienced in Sangha, or that we will experience over lunch, or that we'll experience, this is what happens. But sometimes there are moments that just stay with you. And these are little moments that David Chadwick, who does these kind of things, went around and said to people who knew Suzuki Roshi, what kind of memory stays with you? You know, what comes up for you about Suzuki Roshi? And they're very human moments. So when you hear these with the eyes and ears just wide open, of nothing special, just an alive moment. Begins with, in the introduction, quote by Carl W. Buchner. They may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. we act upon each other. And in the introduction, their glimpses of Suzuki Roshi show that his way was not systemic or formulaic, which is what they also say about the Buddha. I mean, later it got encoded, you know, in rules, but they say that the Buddha was everything that he did was just responsive. It's like the person in the situation that was in front of him, he responded, and then people were paying attention and underwrote down. But same thing, Suzuki Roshi, Buddha, there's no system or formula here. He emphasized that the ungraspable spirit of Buddhism is what continues. He emphasized that the ungraspable spirit of Buddhism is what continues, while the expression of that spirit always changes. The teachings of Buddha, he said, were for particular moments, people, and situations, and were relative and imperfect. Got that? We are all, and each moment is relative and imperfect. And whatever you think Dharma Heart Zen is and the Sangha is, it's relative and imperfect. And we're all just reaching for a pillow in the dark together. Because what else are we going to do with this life? Some of these may settle in your heart in a particular way. Here's a great one. One day, I complained to Suzuki Roshi about the people I was working with. No! Do you ever have complaints about the people you live with or the people in the Sangha? Maybe once or twice. Never happens to me. He listened intently. And finally he said, if you want to see virtue, you have to have a calm mind. You want to see Buddha, you have to have a calm mind. Here's another one, kind of goes with my Jawajo koan. One day a student was in the hall at Shikoji, which was his original temple in the United States when he first came, when Suzuki Roshi approached him. Just walked up to him out of nowhere and said, just to be alive is enough. Just to be alive is enough. And with that, he turned around and walked away. And obviously stayed with this person for a very long time. There's so many good stories in here. Even if you've heard them, it doesn't matter. It's like I've heard these a lot. A student at Tassajara sat facing Suzuki Roshi on a tatami mat in his room, probably doing Dokusan. So this person came in to confess. You know, you think you're going to come in and say all the things you're doing wrong, or you're going to say, oh, do all the things, say all the things that you're doing right because you want the teacher to approve you. Or, you know, it's like we've been doing this since we went to grade school, right? Or maybe hiding things we got wrong. Anyway, so the student said he couldn't stop snacking in the kitchen and asked what he should do. Suzuki went under his table and said, here, have some jelly beans. Very playful and whimsical. There's so many stories in here where people came in so seriously. And Suzuki Roshi, don't be mistaken, he was very, very serious about what he was doing. And he could also be very fierce. But a lot of it, he was just turning things around when people wanted to just get stuck in, I'm doing something wrong and tell me what to do right. A student of Suzuki Roshi's, a publisher of beat poetry, saw his teacher of a year and a half in a private interview, Dokusan again. He said he couldn't continue, that every time he sat zazen, he started to cry. I can't take it, he said. I'm leaving. I can't be here anymore. Suzuki didn't tell him to stay. He merely said, you try and try and you try and you fail and then you go deeper. Say the last phrase. You try and you try and you fail and then you go deeper. You just keep going all the way through. You just stay. I mean, you don't have to stay. If you can figure out something better to do, go do it. But if you make a commitment, you just, your ego is gonna tell you 100 million reasons why you're not getting it or what you're not doing right. And you know what? You just keep going all the way through. Something happens. That's nothing. Ah. I know the person who told this story. During a break in one of the early sessions, a student returning to his seat early straightened a picture on the wall before he sat down on his cushion. Just tidying things up, trying to make things straight. Right? Only he and Suzuki Roshi were in the Zendo at the time. After a moment, Suzuki got up to leave the room. He walked down the aisle, stopped at the picture, returned it to its crooked position, and continued out the door. These are profound little moments. He was playing with reality and playing with people's mind states. Student asked, does the Zen master suffer in a different way than his students suffer? I was talking to somebody the other day, this whole thing about somebody thinking you're a teacher. I mean, it's nice, excuse me, but it's mostly pretty funny because there's so many projections in it. And I was talking to this person about how it feels so important to me to just keep saying, I'm a human being and so are you. And if you think somehow we've transcended, that whatever you think a teacher is transcended, it doesn't suffer the way you suffer. I think you suffer more, but you suffer more spaciously, and there's a lot more compassion and love. But why would you want to, I mean, where do you think compassion comes from? You just become more and more a human being. Does the Zen master suffer in a different way than their students suffer? And Suzuki Roshi said, in the same way. If not, I don't think the teacher is good enough. Nobody's promising you you're going to get out of here. I think, if anything, the promise is alive, it's here. And being able to feel and respond. And that's what Sangha is. That's what I hope we're doing. It's helping each other wake up. More awake to the joy and the suffering and the beauty and the confusion, and falling down and getting up. And just knowing that it happens in relationship and it happens in love, which is really just being together. That includes being in a room with people sitting zazen, which is not easy to do. I just came back from Arawaika Sesshin and I was Can you hear me now? Yeah, cool. Ha ha ha. Cool, okay. The problems you are experiencing now, you will continue in some form for the rest of your life. The problems you are experiencing now, you will continue for you the rest of your life in some form. Don't think you're going to get over your problems. You just wake up in the middle of them. And the way he said it, we all laughed. Because he said it with compassion. And with the awareness, of course, we all want to get out of this. You know, it's hard. Sometimes it's just hard. And how do we be with it? Christina's laughing. Oh, I like this one too. Sorry. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. I got a ton of them. We won't get through all of them. One day during a tea break, a student standing next to Suzuki Roshi asked, "So what do you think about all of us crazy Zen students?" I think of this one often, actually. He said, "I think you're all enlightened until you open your mouth." All the Buddha sitting upright, you know, it's like we're all so beautiful. And then somebody says something, you go, oh, or it comes out of your own mouth and you go, whoa. It's funny. I mean, it's sad, but it's funny. This life is enormously funny, not in a like laughing at you way, but I just think the gods must just laugh in a really whatever that means. It's like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And they say it because whoever they is, the little Buddhas in us, because there's so much compassion and love. And wanting us to not suffer. And we just keep doing it, right? Doesn't it amaze you sometimes how much we know? We know enough to know that if we do certain things, cause and effect, if this happens, that will happen. And lo and behold, we do it again and that happens again. And you've probably been doing it for 100 million thousand times in a lifetime. And each time you do it, maybe it gets a little lighter and a little funnier and a little sadder. And then sometimes we just do something different and it's like, wow, but it's like, I'm sorry, I think us human beings, we're kind of stubborn little critters. Now and then Suzuki Roshi would make this point. In the Lotus Sutra, Buddha said to light up one corner, not the whole world, just make it clear where you are. That's all. Anything else is an idea. Just light up this corner, your heart, mind, your interaction, whatever's happening. Just vow intention over and over. And I'm coming to the end, so I have to find the true. Let me find. Oh, now I'm echoing. Isn't this amazing? Oh.
We can't hear you, Chris.
Okay? Yes, okay, couple more. Because I can't help myself. And they're all relevant. Student asked Suzuki Roshi if he kept an eye on his students to see if they were following the precepts. I don't pay any attention to whether you're following the precepts, he answered. I just notice how you are with each other. Mm. Ooh. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't help myself. Once while driving Suzuki Roshi back to San Francisco from Los Altos, I asked him if there was much hope for that handful of middle-aged suburban housewives to accomplish anything as Zen students. He used to go down that, I mean, that's the book that Zen Mind Beginner's Mind came out of, but anyway, this is what the students said. After all, I thought they only sat together once a week, unlike we students who sat daily at Zen Center. You ever think things like this? Probably never. He told me their understanding was actually pretty good. And he noted, and they don't seem to suffer from arrogance. It was pretty good, huh? Like all of us, because we think that stuff. Sorry, I really love these. While driving my teacher to the Suzuki Roshi to the city center from Tassajara, I said, Suzuki Roshi, may I ask you a question? My husband said that to Suzuki Roshi. The only time he ever had direct contact with Suzuki Roshi, he walked up to Suzuki Roshi and said, can I ask you a question? Suzuki Roshi said, no. Bruce really remembers that story. But in this case, may I ask you a question? And he said, yes. I proceeded to beg him to tell me what I should do to understand reality, to become enlightened. I told him that I was totally dedicated and that whatever he told me, I would do. I went on and on, making sure that he was thoroughly aware of my sincerity and devotion. I turned to him for an answer. And he was sound asleep. Here's another one, same vein. We'll stop in a minute. I went in for my meeting with Suzuki Roshi during sesshin, and at the time, my main purpose was to get him to approve of me. I told him how I was trying hard to do the right thing, and he listened carefully without judgment. And then he said, you get a gold star. It's like he knew the self. I mean, he'd studied himself to know enough to know what we're all up to, you know? And we're all trying hard, and we all need to try hard. Please try hard. And what are we trying to do? You know, what are we doing here? What's important? Keep asking yourself that. What's the most important thing? Why do we practice? And ask it forever and ever. Maybe I'll find one or two more and then. One day, Suzuki Roshi went with a group of us in a truck to a ranch some miles from Tassajara to pick fruit. We used to cut up the fruit. We'd get apricots, and these were in the old days. I don't know why we stopped, and we'd cut them up and put them in, and students before had made big mesh baskets, and we'd put them up on the roof. of the roofs of Tassajara, and they'd dry.
Mm.
And then you'd have dried apricots in your stewed fruit all winter long. Anyway, we were all trying to be good Zen students, work hard, pick the fruit, pack the boxes. We didn't realize how serious we'd become until Suzuki Roshi climbed a tree and started throwing fruit at us. And a student asked Suzuki Roshi what he thought American Zen would be like in the future. Romaine's doggy, you can't see, is really waiting for the answer on this. Full attention. You want to know what Suzuki Roshi thinks and hopes American Zen and me too will become in the future? It will be very colorful, he said. So what is that? Very colorful. That completely penetrates all the way through. This is a very serious practice. Being a human being, suffering is very serious. And it's alive. And how do we keep asking what's the appropriate response in each moment to take care of ourselves and to take care of the person next to us and the earth over and over, so that all 1,000 hands and eyes are in motion, reaching for a pillow in the dark? What is that? I don't know, but I want to keep asking that question for the rest of my life. And I want to keep doing this practice forever, for the rest of my life, with people. I think everybody has different language, but really wants to know how to be here and be a true human being. We just have a particular language and way, and we'll just keep helping each other. And beyond that, anything else that we do will really be lovely, but let's just keep trying to be good, kind, awake human beings together. Okay.
Chris, do you want to just go directly to Zazen, or should we do Kinhin and shorten the last period of Zazen?
I think we'll do some bows.
Okay.
And then we'll, I think then people need to have kinhin, because I don't think there's a kinhin before service, and some, is there?